All right, the long-awaited Ventures Loadouts video. Now, this is, I guess, the fifth one of these because I skipped Season 5, but this is essentially going to be a tweaked version of my very first video on Ventures Loadouts, which you can, I guess, check out here because it was on the Rage modifier as well, but there is a key difference. Last time, the Rage modifier, I believe, was constantly draining your energy, whereas now they tweaked it so that dealing damage to an enemy gives you 5 energy. That has about like a 1-second cooldown or so. So if you swing a pickaxe at an enemy, maybe it's a half-second cooldown, because I believe you attack with your pickaxe twice per second. Don't quote me on that, but my point is, doing damage to an enemy gives you 5 energy per hit, regardless of how much damage you do. And because there's a little bit of a cooldown on that, I thought an SMG would be a great way to just zip yourself up to full. Not quite how that works, but my point is, that is how you generate energy. And there are a couple of ways to get around that, which we'll talk about. But since it's no longer draining, that's actually a really easy thing to work with. So it's encouraging you to kill enemies, but your ability cooldowns are reduced and they do more damage. So let's immediately get into like one thing I want to mention right off the bat. Before we get into any specific loadouts, the MVP of this season so far has been Fallen Love Ranger Jonesy, which me being blind have been unable to locate in that scroll. So there we go. Fallen Love Ranger Jonesy. He is currently, as far as I'm aware, fixed. For the very beginning of his introduction, he was doing his commander support, his commander perk in the support, which is no longer the case. But every time you kill an enemy, you will gain 6 energy, and that counts with abilities. You can probably see where I'm going with this. So if you throw him into any ability loadout, it's going to be quite a nice bonus to have. So let's get into the first loadout I want to talk about. I don't know what I'm going to be parked on. This is a Teddy loadout, so I'm just going to spoil everything right here. But let's look at Cassie Clip. She is kind of broken right now. Now, I'm not sure if this is intended. This might be fixed in the future, but as it seems, so long as you have enough energy on an Outlander, you can use your anti-material charge with no cost, which means if you just put Cassie Clip in your lead, you'll have a 100% chance to get additional loot, and that is just all I need to say. We have paired her with Long Arm of the Law, which is not usually the optimal perk, but hey, Blast from the Past is usually really good for keeping yourself alive. And you can use Southie to generate energy, which is something I can mention here. I don't really have any loadouts to show you that are directly benefiting from this, but if you have Blast from the Past and Fossil Southie in support, I guess I can show him right here. If I scroll down and find him, come on, where's the big yellow dinosaur? There he is. Fossil Southie. When the Saurian Focus, when shield is depleted, you get 4 energy per second, which means you are just constantly regenerating energy. That can essentially negate this Rage modifier, and it makes for a very nice build. In fact, I was wrong. The Dragon Slash loadout is going to utilize that later. So that's a really nice ability to have, but it's not really needed when she's not using any energy. So Long Arm of the Law makes your punch super long, super convenient, and this build has a lot of variability. Now, first and foremost, I always recommend coconuts. I'm going to use these on all my builds today because it just gives you tons of health, tons of damage, and it's just nice to have. And Fuel the Fallen is not strictly necessary. So long as you're running Pacifist and you're not killing any enemies and you're not taking any damage, you might not need to regenerate the energy as much because, like I said, once you hit that minimum, you're good to go. But some nice quality of life stuff is like Phase and Confuse, Work does your more damage with your pickaxe if you intend to be using that, and then Phase Forward gives you extra movement speed. There are lots of heroes that can actually be used, like Phase Out can increase your phase shift cooldown, but these things do consume energy, so it kind of depends on how you want to play. And there's a lot of correct answers here. You can use In and Outlander to give you an extra phase shift charge, but careful on your phase shift because you will be utilizing the energy necessary to activate that anti-material charge. So, yeah, I don't honestly know if this is a bug. Because of how tricky and damage-oriented getting energy is, I think it would have been very, very annoying to farm this season if the anti-material charge did consume energy. You'd have to be constantly throwing drones and killing stuff for it to make sense. To even use that, maybe throw down your Teddy in an encampment and let it just farm enemies for a second to get back to full, but farming would have been really, really annoying. So I think what they did was in a past season, they made one of the super Outlander abilities a free anti-material charge, and it was surprisingly balanced. I mean, everybody just got to full materials in their first mission, but when you think about it, Ventures is temporary, and then our entire inventory resets at the end of the seasons. So to allow players to just farm up to full and get everything they need as soon as possible allows you to just enjoy the modifier more and worry more about just grinding missions rather than farming for hours and hours and hours for loot that is unfortunately just going to reset at the end of the season. So that's my long-winded version of saying maybe even though it's not strictly stated that it's free, maybe that was sneakily intended. So let's move right on to like what I think is like the most fun build that I've been messing with, and that is Teddy. This is a very specific loadout for a few reasons. Now, fragments are extremely important. When you use a charged fragment, it makes it so that your ability doesn't cost any energy, and with Impossibility Matrix, with the Old Glory AC here, who is soon to return, we expect Fossil Southie soon, by the way. I meant to mention that when we brought him up earlier, but he's not currently announced as of recording, but in the future you might have had a chance to grab him. But either way, Old Glory AC is really nice because when you use a charged fragment, it reduces the cooldown by 10%, which means in the bottom right, if you see in the gameplay here, that little Teddy down there, if it doesn't have a 1 or a 2 or whatever next to it, that won't get the extra 10% cooldown, and this won't be an infinite build. But if it does get that charge fragment usage, Old Glory AC reduces it. The Teddy build, it repairs your Teddy, or it refreshes your Teddy so quickly that it'll actually allow you to throw the Teddy back down on the field before it's actually done, which is just crazy. You can't have 2 Teddys out at once, but it would be really, really fun if it worked that way. So yeah, just got to be careful about that. Now, getting gameplay for that was kind of tricky because I was just running around solo. I was like a power level 36 in the 40 zone, and it was killing pretty well. This is much better in a group of people, and once the objective begins and there are tons of enemies around, perhaps if you're even getting kills with your traps, then it's much easier to refresh that ability. So just know that all of the gameplay today was recorded solo and isn't super representative of exactly how these would be performing in a real match with friends in your group buffing your power level. If you're one of those people who are like, oh, I don't have any friends, I'm always solo, join our Discord, link down below. If you are friendly and polite, you are sure to find people to play with, but you know, not everybody's the most friendly. If you run into a jerk, tag a mod. We don't support a mean community, but I can't individually control 13,000 people, so hopefully you can understand if you run into a bad egg. As for some alternatives, let me talk about the rest of the build here. Wild Fragment Deadeye, super nice. The Shock Tower didn't get as much show in the gameplay because, like I said, my energy was a little more limited with the enemies that I was killing. In a big group, I'm throwing the Shock Tower all the time because we're killing enemies all the time. Pressing Charges. If you are one of the people who have researched Gumshoe, she is super fantastic because if you use one of those abilities with the Fragment, she'll give you a 30% damage boost on your Shock Tower and your Teddy. Very powerful. I mean, that's just such an easy buff to grab because it's basically Trailblazer Quinn who's giving you 30% damage to Teddy, but on your Shock Tower as well. It's a really nice ability. When you get to the late game, however, Fragment Flurry, giving you those charge fragments all the time, will lock you to a physical Teddy, and when you're encountering many more elemental enemies, you might want to consider Cyberclops. The cooldown won't be like unlimited Teddy to my knowledge. It won't be infinite, but he will allow you to have an energy Teddy and could be a good alternative. There are lots of heroes that affect this, by the way. You can change this build with whatever heroes you have, whatever you might prefer. I'm not even claiming this to be a perfect build, but Ventura Ramirez gives you more range. I'm not certain that that's necessary. Somewhere in here should be Jilly Teacup. If I didn't put her in the collection book, I don't know why I would have. And there she is. Yeah, she has a 100% chance to crit new targets, and this is a confusing perk to me, but she could be good in support if you want to use her. Go right ahead. I don't blame you. If you don't have her or Happy Holidays, then maybe recruit Jilly, get Happy Holidays, throw her in support. Could be a nice 2-for-1 deal. Could be worth grabbing her, but I don't recommend spending hero vouchers on anything right now until we know more about birthday llamas. Again, that information could be outdated if you're watching this in a few weeks and we know all about them. Then do what you want to do. Try to be more informed. Ask me in stream chat, link down below if you guys ever have any questions, or tag me in Discord. I guess I don't always recommend that because there are other people in there, but you can tag me. I don't usually bite if it's a good question, or comment on this video. I'll try to keep everybody up to date. So yeah, that should just about cover this Teddy build. It is an infinite Teddy build, and it's very, very fun. I will note one last thing. We don't have Fallen Love Ranger Jonesy in here, and that is just to further reiterate the charge fragments. So long as you're getting charge fragments, you shouldn't need him. But if you're encountering a situation like I did where you're not getting all the charge fragments, then you might want to just throw out one of these heroes like Static Cling maybe and just put on Fallen Love Ranger. That will ensure that you at least always have the energy available to you. All right. let's get into, should we do Dragon Slash or Minigun? Let's do Minigun. Let's do Dragon Slash last. Let's get into the Minigun build. This thing is insane. This is a true infinite minigun build, and I don't even know what to tell you. If you guys have seen my minigun video, it's actually becoming one of the more popular videos on my channel, amazingly. So you've probably seen this before, but I'll run through it real quick. This is Sub-Commando Jonesy in the lead. This is just my Twitch Prime flex. If you're looking to use the alternative, I do keep a purple copy of Commando Spitfire just so I can show you, but he is exactly the same. You just need that 66% cooldown, so level him up to whatever it is, like level 20 or something. I don't have him powered up at all, but if he's a high enough level to get that 66% bonus with the reduced cooldown of the rage modifier, this is an infinite Teddy build. You can see me defending the survivor right here just forever. The only minor annoyance is having to pull the minigun back out when it's done, and that is super, super nice. To achieve that, you need Happy Holidays as your activated team perk. You need Going Again in the lead, and then you do need the Ain't Done Yet. Now, you can get rid of this perk because it's not technically giving you any extra damage, but you will have to wait a couple seconds, oh no, for your minigun to come back. So you could squeeze a little bit of extra damage by taking out Ain't Done Yet, and then swapping in something that'll give you some more damage. Some people recommend like Sergeant Winter, which I don't even know if I have in here. He gives you the extra snowballs for some extra water damage. I've never seen that to be a super necessary perk, but he's a thing. I think I have him in my collection book, or I'm blind. Either way, if you find another perk in here that's more worth it to you, you can go ahead and try that. I'm not going to blame you, because there you go, Snow and Commando. I knew I would have them in here. A snowball is something I totally recommend. Water damage isn't always the best, but it does kind of seem like we're in a firestorm. I haven't totally confirmed that, but you can see the modifiers on the left. A lot of them seem to be fire, so this could be a good season to use Sergeant Winter. I'm going to leave that one up to your discretion. You might not need Ain't Done Yet, but you're going to need to wait a couple of seconds. Once again, I'm flexing a birthday hero. The regular one is, I think, Commando something. There he is, Ain't Done Yet. I keep a purple copy just to show you guys. Sergeant Jonesy. He's the alternative. These birthday heroes were treated kind of dirty. She came out once forever ago, and I don't see any news of her returning, but you know, I like to use them when I got them. And then I've chosen to use Boomstick and Support, which is very important. We'll get to him in a second. 25% damage is just an easy grab. There's no reason not to use it. I told everybody to buy him from the event shop last event. I hope everybody took my word on that, because this is exactly why Minigun is very important, very strong, and it is very nice to have him. So I hope a lot of people grabbed him. Ted, first cup of the day, nice. I mean, that extra crit rating damage is just literally bonus damage. So, I mean, it's not a very complicated hero. And then, as I've mentioned very early in the video, Fuel for the Fallen is exactly why this works, because the minigun is fairly expensive at 50 energy per pop. So, you need at least 8 kills to get like 48 energy, and that is enough to operate at a loss. So you need a minimum of like 9 kills to actually keep this thing, you know, sustainable forever. But again, if the defense has begun and you're shooting at waves of enemies, 9 enemies should not be difficult with a minigun build. If you are having trouble, maybe you're queuing too high of a zone, or you're in the late game, and that's what I wanted to talk about. So if we just swap this around, put Diecast Jonesy in the lead, you'll note that I supercharge both of these, so if that doesning show how much I sign off on Minigun, then I don't know what will. Diecast Jonesy in the lead is way stronger. This is where my gameplay is grossly undershowing what this guy can do. I was being boosted by some stream viewers, shouts to admit, and everybody who's been helping me. These guys have been queuing slightly higher level missions. I haven't been getting hard carried because I've actually been super enjoying this season, so shouts to anybody who's offered me 140 access, but I like being useful. And when we've been queuing those higher level zones, we're encountering more elemental enemies, and that energy minigun goes so far. In my solo gameplay, it just doesn't do it justice. This thing shreds elemental enemies way better than a physical minigun would, because it doesn't do that reduced 50%. If you don't know how elements work, I'll link that video down below, but energy is better against elemental enemies than physical, because, you know, not to mention you're getting that 50% damage bonus. The only downside, and it's an annoying one, the only downside is that you have an 11-second cooldown, which isn't that bad. It's significantly better than, I think, the 27-second cooldown in regular missions, but it's still a thing. It matters, but like I said, in the end game, when you're dealing with elemental enemies, you might not really have much of a choice, because I don't think a normal minigun is just going to cut it against an elemental 140 mini-boss. So, Diecast Jonesy in the lead is definitely an option if you're willing to wait 11 seconds. So, yeah. All right, to cap this video off, let's just do one more fun thing. I'll mention Dragon Scorch, and Dragon Scorch can be paired with, let me see, Blakebeard Stash. I'm not going to be highlighting this because I've mentioned this in the past. I have a whole video on Blakebeard Stash, link down below. This team perk works. If you want to learn all about it, that video's down there. I'm not going to mention it in today's video because I think it's redundant. I'm sure I've brought this up a lot. I think we all know by now that Blakebeard Stash is like a really good way to start off ventures. I think I've mentioned it almost every season. It's just really good with the peg legs and the coconuts and the cannonball grenades, and you don't need to rely on RNG from the weapons you get in vending machines, and that can be nice to pair with Dragon Scorch, but we're using Blast from the Past. That way, the Saurian Focus can guarantee that we're getting 4 energy every second, and the expensive Dragon Slash is something we can afford. I am using Return of the Dragon with Sarah Hotep, and that reduces the energy cost by 30%. I think this is worth it. It definitely helps you afford it more better, because I think Dragon Slash is naturally a 50 energy move, which is quite expensive, and it's not usually killing as many enemies as the minigun, and not to mention the energy you get from Fallen Love Ranger Jonesy doesn't always stack super nice. So if you kill a bunch of enemies at once, you might only get like 6 energy. It's kind of finicky, but with Blast from the Past, it's super consistent. The only problem is you're waiting 5 seconds for a cooldown instead of Happy Holidays like 4 or 3 seconds. It's not very significant. And what I've done a lot, and you might see this in the gameplay, is when I'm done with a Dragon Slash, I'll just throw like Throwing Stars or a Smoke Bomb, because with Fossil Southie, you should almost certainly be getting plenty of energy. 4 per second is quite a bit, and should mostly keep up with combat. Other than that, we've got Till the Dragon, leaving behind a trail of energy. Dragon Scorch is just the clear winner because he gives you wider range, more damage. He is the go-to Dragon Slash hero. Not to mention, Dragon Slash, Throwing Stars, and Smoke Bombs are all very good abilities. He is a super nice DPS ninja, and I like him. I like him a lot. And then I think Coconuts is what it is. I don't think I need to explain that. And, as I always like to say, if you don't have any of these heroes, then you can just scroll through here and just find whatever you think is nice. Saurian Fight, by the way, could be better than Saurian Hide. I think somebody actually mentioned this in the stream, and I'm actually a little embarrassed that I forgot to put him on for now. So Rex Jonesy buffing your Dragon Slash and your Throwing Stars and your Smoke Bomb could be really, really nice in any ability loadout where you're using Blast from the Past. Sorry that I mentioned him so late, but hey, you know, I forget about things sometimes, and he is definitely a nice addition. So whew, there you go. That's the farming loadouts for Venture Season 6. It's amazing how one little tweak to the rage modifier can make a very, very long conversation, and I'm super glad that they did it because Infinite Minigun and Infinite Teddy have made for a very fun season, and I'm really enjoying this one. Hopefully you guys are too. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe if you're new. Twitch link down below. I recorded this in the middle of a stream. Fun fact. I don't have the chat on screen, but you know, use code Mista if you guys will support the channel. I've had it up on the screen the whole time, but it wasn't in the way, so I just left it. I appreciate you guys hanging out, and I'll see you guys next time. And then